Hi, Eric here.
And Carrie.
We're with Total Motorcycle. Cue the intro. Thanks for tuning into our video. So as some of you might know, back in October of 2018, Carrie and I had the opportunity to attend the AIMExpo in Las Vegas. While we were there, we got to test ride a few different bikes, and we're here today to talk to you about one of them. I don't know if our camera in the back can see it, the Vulcan S, and then maybe the sneak preview for the next one there, if you can see that from behind us. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start the video. This is a new format for us. We're just going to watch it with you, and we'll talk about what we were thinking and what we were feeling while we were riding the bike. Most of the video takes place from the view on Carrie's head, and you'll see why. We'll get to that when we get there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start now. Here we go. So right here at the beginning of the video, we're just lining up, getting ready to take off. We're leaving the paddock. Oh, that's our parrot. She wants to be in the conversation too. So the Vulcan S 650, this is the 2019. The bike was first released in 2015. It hasn't gone through any major revision since then, so it's still a first generation machine. It's got a 650cc parallel twin that generates 63 horsepower at 6,600 RPM. So with a 170-pound rider, that's a weight-to-power ratio pretty close to any sort of hot hatch you might be used to if you know your cars. That's comparable to like a WRX STI or...
Can you hear me?
Anyway, that's what it's like. So it's a little zippy. We're going to see the straight line acceleration here in a second. And I'll go ahead and shut up and let the audio take over so you can hear it. Here's the straight line. And it's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's maybe not as fast as like a sport bike that you might be used to, or a true sport. Right here we're going to find out why most of the video takes place from Carrie's helmet. So here we go.
It's working now.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I don't know where you went. It just disappeared all of a sudden. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Bad battery in my GoPro too. As you can see, there were a lot of other bikers in Vegas that day. It was a huge event. It was really, actually, all week was Bike Week in Vegas, so there were all kinds of events going on other than the AIMExpo. It was a lot of fun. We did a lot. We had a great time. Here in a minute, the light's going to turn. Is there anything you want to add while we're waiting for the light to turn?
I'll add that this is a guided event by Kawasaki, so in the front he's a Kawasaki employee, and if you want to see some of the other 2019 models, they're in the line with us in front and behind.
Okay, here's the green light. We're going to speed up for a second, and while we're in fast forward, Carrie's going to read us some of the pertinent stats. So just a moment. Okay, go ahead, babe.
So I went to www.totalmotorcycle.com, and then you go to models and manufacturer guides, and then I went to Kawasaki 2019 models. Click on the bike I want, the 2019 Vulcan S. Eric gave you some of the stats already. The rake and trail is 31 degrees at 4.7 inches, so it's somewhere in between what you'd be used to in a cruiser or a sport bike.
And how about some of the other measurements?
The overall length is 90.9 inches. The overall width is 34.6. The overall height is 43.3. The ground clearance is 5.1. So it looks small until you're sitting in it, but I think it would be a good bike for shorter people that have a hard time reaching. And you can get different, depending on how tall you are. We'll go into more of that later. The seat height is 27.8, and the curb weight is pretty light for a cruiser. It's 498.3 pounds. Check it out yourself if you want to see more statistics.
Okay, so we'll go back to the video. Now, as you can see here, we've got the sound muted on the video now. This is just showing some of the... This is only a 25-mile-an-hour road. It's sort of an office district that was there in Vegas. And we just slowed it down a little bit so you can see... Well, hang on a moment. Now we're moving fast again. We'll slow up again in a second. You can sort of see the lean angle and a little bit about the way the bike handles. So we're going to slow down. I think it's right about now. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so now just about to normal speed again. So you can see the bike handles pretty well. I was impressed with the handling on the bike. It handled better than I expected it to. We'll talk more about that later too. As Carrie was saying, it looks small, but when you sit in it, it feels large, but it still looks small. She's pulling up next to me right now. That's me in the red helmet there with the GoPro sticking out the side of my head, and you can see, so I'm 200 pounds, 6 foot even, and I look pretty large on that bike. So it is sort of a small frame bike, and you get the kind of handling characteristics that you would expect in something a little smaller. It does lean very well. It's a snappy bike.
If you look at Eric, so he's the one on right in front of me with the red helmet. Look at his riding position compared to the gentleman on the left with the white shoes. He's on a standard Ninja. So Eric's feet are cocked forward. He's leaning back, more a comfortable angle.
Now we're speeding up. We're going to go through just a lot of straight roads here. We stop, turn right, and then we're going to get on the freeway. I was riding the extended reach Vulcan, and that becomes important right now because I was sort of hanging by my toes. And you can see I dialed in more lean than I needed right here. And right about there, my right heel contacted the pavement because I was on that extended reach bike and it was actually too tall for me. I was too tall for that ergonomic layout. So if you're taller than 6 feet and you're worried about a bike that'll fit you, this is something to look at, because at 6 feet tall, I was too short for the extended reach, and my heels were hanging out. It was the lowest part of the bike. I contacted the road there, and it startled me. So now we're going to speed up again. We're on the interstate. I want to say that wind protection on this bike was pretty good. How did you feel about it?
You can see me tuck a little bit. It's just got that little sport shield, which I think is more for looks than function, but I didn't have any problem. Obviously, we didn't get up to any excessive speeds on a guided tour trying to take some time through Vegas, but
yeah, I didn't feel like I was suffering from a lot of wind blast.
I feel like I could have comfortably gone on a road trip on that bike and been just fine.
I think so too. And we come up here, and then there's another right turn and some more freeway. What I want to say about the bike, my overall impressions of the 2019 Vulcan S from Kawasaki is that it does a really good job of splitting the difference between a cruiser and a sport bike. It's pretty good at both things. It doesn't excel at either of them. It's not quite as zippy as some of the other bikes that we rode that weekend. But it's got some get up and go to it, especially for a cruiser. And the handling was totally acceptable. I had no problems with that.
It took a little time to get used to having my feet out from under me, because I keep a cruiser and a sport bike in the garage, which takes up double space. So if you didn't want to have 2 bike payments or pay double insurance, this would be a good bike for you, somewhere in between.
Absolutely. I think in the end, and I mentioned this in the text article, we'll link to that down in the description of the video, but in the end, I think it's a better cruiser than a sport bike. It makes a better cruiser than a sport bike. It's got that laid-back riding position and that low seat height, so it feels very relaxed. It's very kick-back and cruise.
Yeah, and it would look good with accessories.
Yeah, you could drop in a Or, I mean, you could bolt on a windshield and some saddlebags and it wouldn't ruin the look of the bike. The tank is a little small for touring. I want to say it's a 3.4 gallon tank. You have those stats up still? We'll take a look at that real quick.
Also, it doesn't come stock with a passenger seat.
Yeah, you have to request the passenger seat.
Which is part of the look.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. So I mentioned fuel capacity there. So right here we're just angling through traffic at the hotel, at the casino. The show was at Mandalay Bay and it was a lot of fun.
3.7 gallons.
3.7 gallon tank on this bike. So there you go. So you've got 115, 120 miles between fill-up, depending on how aggressive you are. So I like a little more under the cap when I'm touring, but I mean, plenty of people tour with a 3.7 gallon tank, so you totally could. And as you saw before there, 200 pounds, 6 foot, I did 80 miles an hour on the freeway, no problem. So if that's what you're worried about, if that's what's holding you back from buying a smaller displacement bike like this 650, it's not a concern. You can do freeway speeds all day.
I just gotta say, look how much fun this is. We got all our major brands here with all the new models. If you ever get the opportunity to attend an expo where they're doing test rides, show up. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a blast. See all those bikes there? Then we're going to climb off the bikes, and you can see the cockpit right there for a second.
And immediately I'm going to interview the man who was on the shorter reach one. He was in the group behind us. And he loved it. He had a great time.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the text article too.
Our daughter was supposed to take pictures of us. And she missed it. She was over looking at the, what are those little car?
Oh, I can't remember the name of them now.